The film seems like it's a sci-fi version of a zombie film, but speaking earlier, you also mentioned that there was some blog influence to it. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
Yeah, we talked earlier today, we were talking about how I really wanted to make a blog remake. That's been like one of my passions in life, but unfortunately, because of how film is these days, it's too expensive to get the rights to it. Plus, an indie company to get the rights to a huge franchise like that would be probably slim to none. So this is my way of trying to create new types of blog and just kind of morphing it a little bit into a different type of element, if you will.
Rich, I know that you were heavily induced with a lot of prosthetics. I know the mask weighed about 8 pounds. Can you give us a little, I don't know, experience-wise, how it felt to be suited up as Nemesis?
Yeah, I think Phil and Joe did a great job, and everybody else that helped create the Nemesis character. They kind of took Adam's vision and ran with it. Adam gave him a little artistic discretion, so I think they did a great job. From a personal standpoint, it was kind of neat getting all that stuff on, because during the process, originally when we first started, it took a little longer, but as we continued to shoot, every time we streamlined the process, got a little easier to get everything where it needed to be and get it on me. The neat thing about the whole process was, like I said, as I was putting it on, I mean, if you know me, I'm like probably 180 degrees from the character Nemesis. I probably like 99.9% of the people in the world, and I don't have a mean bone in my body. So, through the process, putting the mask on, putting the teeth in, putting the eyes on, it helped me kind of get into character. Once all that was on and I kind of saw what I looked like, that kind of, gave me a little more courage to become the mean guy that I was. So, last summer when we did most of the filming, it was kind of warm out. I don't know if you remember last summer, but the heat was difficult. But again, everybody did a great job getting me in and out. I had a lot of people helping me. So it was a neat experience, but like I said, it definitely helped me transform into who I needed to be. So it was a great process.
I also heard through the grapevine that there was a particular shooting day where the star, Mr. Jason Beebe, used a real-life, branch and knocked you in the head. I guess just kind of tell us if you're still feeling the after effects of that blow, and how you managed to continue the shooting day after that.
Well, first of all, I want to clarify something. It wasn't a branch, it was a log. And basically what it was is Jay and I had a scene where we were fighting down by the water, and we practiced this a few times and thought we had a pretty good handle on it. And I guess I zigged when I should have zagged, or Jason swung when he should have swung, or something like that, and I took one on the noggin. Now, you mentioned earlier that mask I had on. It was fairly heavy, and I probably complained about it being so heavy, but I'll tell you what, I was never happier to have 17 pounds of latex on my head than I did at that moment. So, but yeah, it was, it hit me pretty good. I was hoping they'd actually put that in the movie, because there was no acting needed for that, so it was a pretty good shot. But yeah, it stung a little, but we had a lot of people on hand to make sure I was okay, so yeah, it was definitely a memorable moment for sure.
And just for the record, it is in the film. It did make the cut. You can actually see Jason, and if you watch it, I watched it again today, I'm going to talk about this. You actually see Jason really wind up, and I'm watching it down here, and I'm like, wow, he's really winding up. And he delivered a nice blow on him, but I still remember hearing that the whack, there was a nice solid the whack. It sounded like bark or a tree branch, log, by the way, hitting skull, so yeah.
I was probably about 50 feet away getting some other effects ready, and all of a sudden I just hear this massive thump come from out of nowhere. Me and Jill look at each other going, what the hell was that? And I get down there and I see Rich holding his head and everyone else around him. So it had a lot of force behind it. So Jay, you should join the Louisville Sluggers, man.
Sorry, Rich. And I will say, he was a trooper. He didn't even want to take the mask off. He's like, oh, just keep going, man. I can't stand it. Let me keep going.
Phil, the Nemesis character, can you just go through the inspiration of the character design and kind of like a quick process of how the mask was made?
Well, as Rich said earlier, Adam basically gave me a set of parameters that he wanted the mask to look like, and I basically kind of took it and ran with it. He wanted a combination of a couple different things, but in order to even do that, we had to get Rich down to the school I was going to at the time down in Pennsylvania. And we gave Rich the full treatment, gave him a life cast and everything, and I took and sculpted right on top of that life cast, which then became the Nemesis creature. Designs, it went through several variations, because every single time I would go and look at it and say, okay, this looks cool. And my father, God love him, he would always sit there and say, I've seen that before. And many swearing words later, I would start over again. And also with the colorations, I took it the way Adam wanted it to go. Because everything had to be green in this film. It's like just, he would say, I would ask him, what kind of colors do you want? And you go, I don't care, just make it green. Everything's green, 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 green. And if I do another green film, I'm going to shoot you.
And then I guess real quick, just the actual mutants, their makeup effect, how that was done and how long it took, because there was a lot of mutants in this film. I know that you and Jill were the two that were handling all the extras, but I'm sure you had help if you want to just go through that process.
Well, first of all, I want to say this to anyone who was a mutant out there. Thank you so much for being patient, and you guys rock. We could not have done this without you guys. And for the actual making of a mutant process, what would happen is we took a special type of silicone, mix it together, and just kind of like slather it all over the actor's face. And that would take about 20, 30 minutes for it to fully set up and cure. And then we go in and paint it all over again. It was always better when we had a mass group of people, because you can just get multiple people done at one time. And as soon as one group of people were letting set dry, we get another group of people in there to get the actual silicone on them. And while they're drying, go back and start painting up the other crowd. And then from there, we would add, was it the mouth goo that we did? Yeah, the mouth goo was chocolate syrup and green food coloring that we would use to kind of replace the blood from the internal organs kind of liquefying and being purged as the bacteria took over. And the whole process took probably about 45 minutes around there. Maybe some days longer depending on the weather. So, and again, whoever was a mutant, you guys rock. Thanks for being so awesome.
Mr. Mayor, you had probably one of the more memorable scenes in the film with, of course, your hand being chopped off. How do you think it played to the audience, and what were your thoughts when you said, oh, my hand's getting chopped off?
Well, they really cut it off to begin with. That was interesting, because we filmed that about 3 days, 3 different shooting dates, and this is all that's left of Mayor Logan's outfit, is the hat and the tie. Honestly. It was interesting because he made a life cast of my hand, and he made several of them, and it looked, it was kind of weird because it was my hand. I mean, every detail, and it was an interesting process, and it was hard. It took probably 30 takes to get that split second, and in the 3 showings, the second that you hear no, 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 help me, and you hear that clock chime, bung, and you see that open paper cutter, every audience was like, no. So it was fun, and it was memorable, and I was grateful to be a part of it, that's all. Really, it was a fun, grisly moment.
I just want to add something to that. We were doing reshoots a couple months ago, and the reason why most of his outfit is no longer with us today is because we actually had to chop the sleeve off it. Because in a reshoot that we did, we're like, oh, let's make it a little more fun, comic, comedic a little bit. So we're going to have the actor, Mike, pull his hand up, and blood is going to go everywhere. It's going to spray everywhere. Originally, that's how it was supposed to be filmed, and we did do that, attempted to do it in the town hall of Hamburg when we did it. But it just did not look believable nor good. So I'm like, all right, let's redo it. And we did it again, and it looked phenomenal. And then we're cutting it together, and I'm like, too bloody, and then I'm like, well, his face isn't bloody in the scene, and in the shot that we did, Mike's face is just getting consumed in blood. I'm like, sheesh, this would have been a great shot, but I don't know, maybe you'll see it when it comes out on the DVD, but it's definitely a good deleted scene.
I was also talking to Adam earlier, and he mentioned that you chose the wardrobe for the mayor. So I'm kind of wondering how the Boss Hog look came together, and what made you use the accent for the character.
Adam is an actor's director. Jason John Beebe will tell you that. Anybody that's worked with him. When he gives you a role and you win a role, it is your role. Anybody out there that is in Grimm, it is your role. And the only tweaking that he'll do when you show up confident is say the line more this way towards the, let me catch this light. And I read it, and it was a very small, minor character in the film, Mayor Logan, very small. But I looked at it, and he didn't even have a first name, and I thought of him. And to create him, he was Jedediah. And he was from the South, and he loved the town, and he was hokey, and he kind of mumbled and stuttered a little bit. And I wanted him to be warm and endearing and a little bit funny and goofy, because politicians are a little bit funny and goofy. And it's as simple as that, and he let me go with it, so that was fun.
Something else to Mike's credit is I really like how Mike can play as a character actor. You just see Richard, and all of a sudden you see Mike's head pop up with the flashlight, and he's just like, and he goes back down. And it was so comedic that you know we really wanted it in the film, but he did prior to that he did a shot where he's like, oh, they know we're in here. That's my Mike impression. I just need a hat. They know they're in here. And I'm like, we can't do those back to back, and you know some of the lighting was off, so that's why that scene didn't make it either.
All right, so I know we're kind of short on time, so I'm going to throw it to the audience. If there's any questions at all, please just feel free to shout it out to anybody up here. If not, I will ask a couple more.
I'm curious, who does the music? Because I gotta say, it was really awesome music choices and placement.
Thank you. It's all licensed music, and it's very expensive. So, you know, each song that you hear between $70 and $100. So, and that's just for the actual license to use it in certain segments. So, it's expensive. And I think, you know, in total, if you do the math on it, I think there's over 30-something songs in the movie. So, yeah, it adds up quickly.
Anybody else? We know that all your films are set in the town of Metzburg. At the end of the film, it gets nuked. So, will you rebuild Metzburg for your next film?
We joked about this earlier. Every film will be taking place from here on out because now the ongoing joke with my movies is Metzburg is the tourist capital of the world. Yeah, we're going to continue with Metzburg. The next film takes place in Metzburg. You know, you just don't want to ever, if you ever see Metzburg on a road sign, you might just want to keep going to the next available town. Because we've had aliens, zombies, and serial killers, and you know, someday vampires, I'm sure, but and werewolves.
All right, lastly, I know you've answered this question a couple times now, but for the rest of the cast and crew here, what would be your favorite moment of the film? Does it have to be your own scene, of course? It can be any part of the film.
My favorite part of the film is still ongoing, and I'm going to make it brief. It wasn't any scene and it wasn't any person, it was the family that everyone in Ombis became. And every time we raised the bar, actors that had no business reaching the level, crew, producers, the money, I don't know, it was miraculous that we got it. I'm not going to pick out anybody in particular. Every single person raised, the bar was raised and they blew it off the pegs. The extras, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that everybody did. But that's what it was. It was a family. And it was all the hard work and the talent together. And that's my favorite thing of the film. I'm sorry. That's it.
Favorite thing. It's kind of a more behind the scenes thing, but while we were filming this scene with Glenn and Mr. Bob Mozak, who's a great actor in his own right, what he does is he literally just goes and takes his character in a completely different direction where you thought it's going to be. And we're going and we have the ground on fire after the meteor crashes and everything, and Bob actually sat there and he started going and playing in the fire. And you know, we had the town of Boston Fire Department there, and you know, they're kind of looking at me going, "Is he okay? Should he be on meds?" And they're like, "No, that's Bob. He's fine." Right up until one point, it's like myself and I think Chris Burns were there, and we're just like, "Bob, Bob, 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 you're on fire!" And there's Bob in his classic fashion going, "I know I'm a great actor." It's like, "No, you're literally on fire." But no, the scene in the police car with Rich and Aaron has to be my favorite scene. Hands down. It has a great moment of levity, and it has just, it showcases how young talent that we have in here in this town. So.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Phil. My favorite scene is with Richard and Haley, Aaron, in the police car at the beginning of the movie there. Just think it's great dialogue, it's very believable. Like Phil said, it's got some humor in it, but it's also kind of, seems very heartfelt in you know, in a movie with a lot of goo and slime and crazy stuff going on. It's kind of neat to see that. So that was my favorite scene also.
Mine is the favorite. Of course, they take it. You know, I talk about speeches being stolen, favorite scenes are being stolen. The only thing I would add to it is something what Mike already stole too, which is this film is really family oriented. You know, the cast. I'm going on 11 pictures now as a director and 14 films that I've worked on, you know, separately altogether. And this film, because we were together for so long, 6 months of shooting, just seemed to really unite and grow together as a group and as kind of a family. That's how often we're mocked. Is, you know, we're so close, we're a family, and that's very true. But I take a lot of personal relationships and personal business dealings, I guess you could say, out of this. And you know, it's kind of sad. I was sitting down here watching the movie. This is actually the first time out of all 3 showings that I actually sat and watched the film. And then, you know, I think it really sank into me this time more than any of the times watching the film, even when I'm at home at 5 in the morning editing the damn thing, that, you know, this has now come to an end, and everything in some ways have also come to an end because of the film is now complete. We get to start all over again, but there'll be never another Ombis. You know, I mean, the family orient that we came with this. So that's my answer.
I do want to acknowledge Christopher Burns. I don't know if he's here or not, but speaking to Christopher, he told me that he did a lot of the CGI work in the film, and being his first time, I think you all agree as well that he did a really good job. So give a round of applause. Time is running short, so what we're going to do right now is let's thank the cast and crew. Another round of applause.